What up? I am live once again. It is Tuesday evening, 8:30. Well, now 8:31, and it's good to be on a live, having the opportunity to engage with my amazing followers. So, what more could you want? My children are asleep. Hopefully, my youngest doesn't get up or call for me, because then that means that this live will be cut short. But I'm really excited about this one because we've had two scenarios. I posted one yesterday, kind of evening time, probably just before 9 actually. And then I posted another one this morning. The first one is about Alicia and Kemi, and the second one is Tokunbo and Caleb. I don't know where I got these names from. I just thought I really want Nigerian names in there. So those are two Yoruba names. So maybe the next two scenarios will have like two Igbo names, maybe one Edo name. Who knows what we gonna do? Okay, because we can do what we want to do. But yeah, you guys really engaged with this, which is really, really cool. Yeah, hopefully we can just talk a little bit more about it. But I feel like the consensus is pretty much the same for the first scenario between Alicia and Kemi. Yeah, what's Kemi gonna do? What's Kemi gonna do? Hey, hon, welcome. My yummy mummy. Welcome. Yeah, as I was saying, what is Kemi going to do? Okay, what's Kemi gonna do? Do you know what I mean? So I have another phone here, and so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I've got Instagram on this phone as well, so it's quite helpful to, go over the scenarios and to see what you guys have said. I should have probably done this for all the other lives as well, instead of trying to remember everything. But yeah, second scenario, I had a few responses for that. I posted that today. I realized that obviously I post a question every single day, but I may reduce the frequency of that because, again, Instagram is just a hot mess, to be honest. It don't really show my followers, people who have actually followed me, my posts. So you can post something thinking people have seen it and they actually haven't seen it. So, I feel like I get responses of questions. Say I post a question on Tuesday, I get a response on Thursday, because that's probably when someone has seen it. Do you know what I mean? So I may just go down to 2 to 3 questions a week. Maybe a question on the days that I'm going to go live, perhaps. Or maybe a question just before the days I'm going to go live. Maybe. I don't know. Thank you, love. Please say the question again. I didn't get the Kemi question. Oh, okay. So basically, there were scenarios. So it was just like, I just made up some scenarios. Hey, Gabby. And I posted them just like to see what people would do. So the first one focused on friendship. The second one focused on, it's more like a morality question. It's friendship and morality. Like, what's the right thing to do here? But I'm going to read scenario question number 1. Scenario question number 1? Why did I write scenario question number 1? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to read it and then we'll discuss. Hey, hon. Okay, so I'm reading on my phone just so that if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so Alicia and Kemi have been friends since high school. They met in the first year and have pretty much been inseparable ever since. Over the years, Kemi noticed that Alicia had an issue with keeping information to herself. Chatter box. So much so that it escalated to a point of almost tearing apart. So turn that off. Almost tearing apart their friendship while they were at university. Right? Kemi decided to forgive Alicia because of all the years she invested in the relationship. Plus, she really enjoys Alicia's company. However, Kemi has reached breaking point again after information she shared in confidence with Alicia made its way back to Kemi. Now, that means Alicia has a congregation of chatterboxes. Because imagine you shared something with somebody who's like a really good friend to you, a close friend, that's someone that you've known for years, and it comes back to you. How should Kemi handle this situation? So that's what the initial scenario is. That's what we're going to talk about. Let me actually just put it in the comments and pin it so people who join can see. But it's great to have you ladies on. I appreciate you taking your time to join me. Kemi. There we go. So yeah, so that is the scenario, hun. I don't know if you picked up on all that. I did actually I posted it on the page, but it's a reel, so you'd have to come off here and then watch it and then come back. But you know, we want you to stay. But yeah, we had some really good responses. I posted them on my stories today. So let's go back and then discuss what people said. And obviously, ladies, please share your thoughts on this. If you've experienced anything like this before, it would be great to hear your thoughts on it. So somebody said, Kemi needs to lock it, create some distance and keep it stepping because Alicia cannot be trusted. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. She needs to lock that friendship up. And the thing is, you know what's really hard is that I think with friendships where you've known somebody for a long time and you've kind of grown up together, it is very difficult because you've got so much history together, so much history. And so you probably they met at high school, first year of high school, first day of high school. So imagine that you've met at high school, you've gone through school together, and all the stuff that comes with going through school, puberty, like obviously, you know, schoolwork, you know, boys, perhaps, also parties, as in like all the stuff that teenagers do. You've gone through all of that. So you probably have so many memories. You know each other's families, you probably had sleepovers, all that kind of stuff. You've got so much history together that it can be difficult to cut that off, basically. Do you know what I'm saying? Or it can be difficult to create that distance that needs to be created, and to see that person as who they are now rather than seeing them as who they are now and who they've been all this time. But in the question, it does say that Kemi noticed that Alicia doesn't really like to keep information to herself. So this is a trait that Alicia has had that Kemi has actually noticed and then just kept up the relationship. But anyway, somebody else said, Kemi should limit what she says. Clearly, Alicia can't control her mouth. Yeah. But then the thing is, if you're friends with somebody, do you not want to be able to share things with them? Do you get what I'm trying to say? So how... I don't know. It's a tough one. Do you get what I mean? Like, you'd have to... The dynamic of the relationship, I think, or the friendship would have to change. But this person says, it's kind of hard when you really like someone and you enjoy their company, you'll feel like sharing stuff with them. Unfortunately, Alicia could not keep a secret. It's obvious that Kemi still wants the relationship. Then she definitely needs to learn how to keep confidential matters to herself and not to share them with Alicia again. This way, everyone will be happy and at peace. I think that's kind of what you're saying. If she still wants the relationship, if she still enjoys Alicia's company, which she says she does, then she's gonna have to regulate. She's gonna have to regulate, because if you want your information going to the Manchester Evening News or the BBC, do you get what I mean? Then keep talking to Alicia. The problem with long friendships is knowing when the season of the friendship is over. Friendships experience seasons. Absolutely. Friendships experience seasons. And I wish that this is something that was taught early on. Because sometimes we feel like it's almost like a badge of honor to have had a friend for years and decades. Like, they've seen every part of your life. Like, it's almost like a badge of honor to have had a friend for that long. Like, you know, some of our parents who schooled in Nigeria, they have what they call like old boys association, old girls association. And some of these people have literally been friends for 20, 30, 40, 50, in some cases, years. And you think to yourself, how? Maybe it's our generation. But, you know, I doubt that they weren't dealing with similar things back then just because they're, you know, older. But I do think it's good to recognise when a friendship has come to an end. And I think, again, with that history that's there, it's difficult to, I guess, to cut that off. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And to see that person in isolation as to how they are now, and almost kind of not turning your back on the past, but not using the past to kind of help you make your decision. Yes, I think Kemi needs to stop telling Alicia things that she doesn't want broadcasted. Kemi should definitely have a conversation with Alicia, though, and tell her that it's an issue. I think that's a good point. I didn't really talk about whether they had a conversation about it. It just said that she noticed it. She'd noticed it. And yeah, I think that's actually a good point. Have a conversation. I share this with you in confidence. Why have I heard about it again? Do you get what I'm trying to say? But again, I do think though that if Alicia has shown a pattern in this Hello? But yeah, what was I saying? Yes, Alicia has shown a pattern of this kind of behavior. So essentially, Kemi has, I won't say agreed. Well, she's consented to it. Nepa is taking yeah, I just got a call coming through. But yeah, Nepa. Say imagine. I'm even saying Nepa is taking oh my gosh. But yeah, there's a pattern that's been noticed by Kemi, and Kemi has somewhat consented to it, because if she's noticed it and she hasn't brought it up, she hasn't discussed it with Alicia up until this point, then more fool her, really and truly. Oh gosh. Kemi should definitely have a conversation with Alicia though and tell us an issue. Yeah, I agree with that. Kemi should no longer share information in confidence with Alicia. Again, friendship done. Friendship done out here. So that's someone that's saying, look, we're not even having no conversation. If I've noticed that you keep doing this, I told you something in confidence and it's come back to me. Imagine if you're gonna tell somebody my business, at least tell somebody that's not connected to me, so I don't find out that that's what you've been doing. At least tell somebody that's far away from the friendship circle, so it doesn't come back to me. But anyway, Alicia has her congregation, has a group of chatterboxes. Next one. Okay, so someone says Kemi's got to leave or adjust what she shares. She's allowed herself to become dependent on a depth of relationship with Alicia that doesn't exist. I mean, a depth of relationship with Alicia that doesn't exist. Wow. That's crazy. The only outcome of keeping the status quo is pain. Pain! Wow. That's a very interesting perspective, actually. Because I think we talked about it in the last episode about perception and how someone perceives something. So Kemi's obviously perceiving that her closeness to Alicia, perceiving a certain level of closeness to Alicia because of their history, perhaps. Yeah, her perception is all wrong. Let's just put it there, because yeah, she's become dependent. That's true. I think that's right. I think that's true. It can be difficult though. When you've known somebody for so long, I think it can be difficult to walk away. It can be difficult to walk away because it's like, okay, I have to start again. I have to start a relationship again with somebody, like whereas I've got this person that I've known all this time. We know each other so well. We know each other's families, perhaps. You know, we've gone through so much together. We've had so many good times, so many great times. Oh, thank you, hon. I'm trying to do the MUA thing. You know what I mean? But thanks. Yeah. So it can be difficult to walk away, and I think even making friends as an adult can be challenging. because everybody's kind of set in their ways and set in how they think and how they do things. And I think life, we have different responsibilities. Like whereas when you meet at school, you're going to the same school every single day, like for like 5 to 6 hours a day. You're doing working, you're in the same environment with people, with other young people for a long time. So it's easier to build, I think, friendships. But when you're older, that's harder, I think, unless you're in a similar situation where maybe it's work, maybe it's, I don't know, church, or some sort of like community initiative or social group, a choir, whatever it is that you're part of. It might be easier to maybe build relationships in that sense. But the only outcome of keeping the status quo is pain. Pain. Best to start a friendship all over again than live a miserable life knowing you can't trust a friend. Good point. Because if you don't have trust, what do you have? Like, if you don't have trust in the friendship, what do you have? Nothing really, to be honest. Someone said, when you are so close to someone, it's actually hard not to share confidential matters with them. When you begin to keep things to yourself, distance between that person will begin to happen naturally. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. When you're keeping things to yourself, like, the dynamic has changed now, which is what this lovely lady says. It's best to decide from the get-go that this person can't be trusted, so therefore I'll keep my distance. Exactly what we just... Anyway, right. So, Kemi and Alicia, I think the general consensus is Kemi, perhaps have a conversation with Alicia if you still really want the friendship. But if you have noticed the pattern over the years, it may be that your answer is actually staring you in the face. That, look, you shared information, it's come back to you. How has it come back? That means it's made its rounds. It's gone on the bus route and it's come back. So, yeah, I think the answer's there. So let's quickly move on to scenario number 2. So this one is a bit longer than the first one. And I think I wrote it out and I kind of chopped it up when I did it on the reel. But anyway, so this is about 2 boys, bus route, 100% bus route. Anyway, Tokunbo and Caleb, these are 2 guys we're talking about now. Let me even take Alicia and Kemi off. Tokunbo and Caleb. Scenario number 2. Okay, so Tokunbo and Caleb, for those people that haven't read it, are 21 and 20 years old. Last week, there were reports of an armed robbery. Mrs. Gibbons, an elderly lady who lived on the next street, was robbed at gunpoint. Growing up, Caleb and Tokunbo knew Mrs. Gibbons to be one of the kindest neighbours. She was always asking after them, giving them money. Unfortunately, during the robbery, much of her jewellery and expensive items were taken as well. Mrs. Gibbons was left in a bad way. The police urged anyone who knew anything to come forward with information. Caleb was in shock, right, when he heard the news. So that's a little bit of history. Caleb and Tokunbo both lived on the same street. They played together outside all the time and obviously became friends through that. When Tokunbo turned 13, he was approached by an older group of boys from a neighbouring estate, right? Tokunbo knew they were part of a gang as their reputation was well known. They asked if he would do a little job for them, for which he would be handsomely rewarded. And the Tokunbo had his eye on some traders, and he thought, oh, if I earn some money, I could buy these traders. Anyway, so he agreed to the job. 1 job became 2 jobs, became 3 jobs, and before long, Tokunbo was a part of the gang, right? Caleb and Tokunbo stayed friends, although Caleb was aware of Tokunbo's involvement in the gang, although Caleb didn't have any gang affiliation. So as Caleb is processing what he's heard now, back into the present day, as Caleb is processing what he's heard, he gets a call from Tokunbo. Tokunbo is sounding erratic and stressed. Okay, Tokunbo confessed that he had been part of the group of men who robbed Mrs. Gibbons. Again, Tokunbo confessed he'd been part of the group of men who robbed Mrs. Gibbons. He felt terrible and confided in Caleb. Caleb was stunned into silence. Tokunbo told Caleb that he couldn't tell anybody what had happened. And how would you advise Caleb? Caleb. Do you know what? Yeah. These kind of relationships, again, these people have been friends from when they were young. So I feel like being friends with, having that history, it just muddies the waters because you just find it difficult to see the person as they are now. Like if you just met this guy, perhaps you wouldn't even be friends. Perhaps you wouldn't even get along. Do you know what I mean? But on this occasion, like, here we are in a scenario where somebody that they knew has been, like, obviously had a terrible ordeal, and one of them is confessing to the other that I was part of it. But on top of that, it's now you've got the weight of knowing that your friend was part of it, but also like having to deal with what you do about that information. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Balancing that out with obviously having this person as your friend and knowing that if you do snitch, then you could put yourself in danger, you could put your family in danger, because obviously some of these gangs is a gang related thing. So it's a tricky one. It's really a tricky one. I think that looking at it from a right or wrong perspective, like from a moral perspective, that, you know, ideally in an ideal world, Caleb would say, okay, I have an idea of at least of the people that were part of this. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So he may not necessarily drop his friend in it. However, he would perhaps, give some indication that he knew who was involved. At the same time, this is your friend though, and you've known that your friend was involved in the gang for years now, right? And so you know that this is the sort of things that they probably do. Do you get? It just so happens that it's somebody that they know, right? As opposed to somebody in another block, do you know, a completely different block, somewhere far away. It brings it close to home when bad things happen to people that you know. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's when you're really tested on your morality. You're really tested on, okay, what would you actually do in this situation? If it happened to one of your family members or if it happened to one of your friends, what would you do in this situation? And so I think that's when morality is really tested, when it's somebody that you know that something bad has happened to. What do you do? So I think it's tricky for Caleb. It's a very tricky situation. I hope Caleb has, you know, a relationship with the Almighty, because this is one that he'll probably have to get on his knees for. Probably have to pray about it, because what do you do? Because now you're having to bear the burden of knowing who was involved, as well as, like, you know, anytime you see Mrs. Gibbons, you're going to know what happened. You know what I mean? That guilt of knowing that I know the people who did this to you. It's not the same as the sort of guilt that Tokunbo is feeling, because Tokunbo obviously was part of it. But there's also that dynamic of Tokunbo feeling like he can just confide in Caleb, like dump that on him because he's feeling a way about it. But this is the lifestyle that you chose. Is it fair for Tokunbo to have done that to Caleb? I don't know. I don't think so, to be honest with you. But, you know, sometimes you do things and, you know, you shouldn't be doing them. And, you know, you confide in people that you know, because sometimes, the weight of what you're doing is weighing heavy on you. So I don't know, like, there's so many ways to look at it. Like, what should Caleb do? The police have urged people to come forward with information. What should Caleb do? I don't know. Whoever's on here, let me know what you think. So I've got a little cup of tea here. Oh, it's gone warm. It's a bit warm now. But yeah, let me read some of the responses I got on this, actually. So, that's scary. It is scary, Gabby. Like, it is, because what do you do? Like, you know, if you snitch, you're putting yourself in danger. they can kill you. Realistically, let's be honest. If it's a gang, like, they can kill you. They can threaten your family. They can, there's retaliation that will take place for, like, quote unquote doing the right thing. And I know that in a lot of, like, urban communities, there's a lot of distrust with police. So if you are the one to go and tell the police about what's going down, you're almost looked at as like a traitor in a way. That's, you know, what I understand. I mean, I don't have any necessary, I don't know. This is what I understand from, like, things I've read and things I've watched as well. But it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. If you ask me, it's a tricky one. Let me go to some of the responses that I got for this one. Okay, so somebody says Caleb should not tell, but pray for his friend and advise his friend to get out of the gang. I think that's a decent response, to be honest. That's decent advice. Because telling is probably is probably, like, when you look at the proportion of like the outcome of telling, you know, versus that need to want to do the right thing. I feel like telling is putting himself in danger. Like, he wasn't involved per se, right? It's not something that's part of his lifestyle. He just has somebody that he knows that is part of the gang, right? Caleb should not tell, but pray for his friend and advise his friend to get out of the gang. I think that's good advice. I think that for me, if, like, following on from this advice, I would actually say, if you don't get out of the gang, our relationship is done, because it's difficult for me now to be friends with you, knowing what you're doing, knowing that there is nobody that's out of your, that you would draw a line on. Like Mrs. Gibbons, of all people, that one that used to always ask how we're doing, give us money. Like, you know, she's one of the kindest people. Like, there's no line that you're unwilling to cross, right? We can't be friends. Like, if you don't get out of the gang, we literally can't be friends anymore. So I think that's good advice. Let me know what you guys think. Someone else said, yeah, no words for this one. Got to swallow the news for your own safety. Disconnect from the bad gang friend and go and help Mrs. Gibbons recover. That's one. We haven't even talked about how Mrs. Gibbons is doing and who's going to be helping her with recovery. But, and then this person says, then snitch after a few months. After a few months. The things with snitching, snitches always get found out. They always get found out. So it's one of those ones where, again, it's a tricky one. But I think what I shared earlier, Caleb shouldn't tell, but pray for his friend and advise his friend to get out of the gang, is probably the best advice in this situation. Because, you know, you don't want to bring Arm's house to your mum's house. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be doing that. So how about we keep it moving, but, you know, moving forward, we're like, no, I can't. If you're going to be doing things like this, we can't be affiliated. We can't be friends anymore, because it's not, in one sense, like I said before, it's not necessarily fair for Tokunbo to put that on Caleb's lap. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, Gabby says, why are they talking about tell Caleb? It's not fair to put his friend in that situation. Absolutely. I agree with you. It's not fair for him to have done that. And yeah, he should have confided in somebody else. Maybe somebody that was in the gang that wasn't part of it. I don't know. And I think that I feel like it speaks to, if you're gonna make a choice about the sort of life that you're living, and Tokunbo was fairly young when he started doing stuff, doing stuff for the gang. But if you're gonna continue to stay in that position or stay in that place, in that environment, then you've got to be strong enough to handle all the kind of like stuff that's gonna happen. Like, if, you know, there's all like armed robberies and all that kind of stuff is taking place, like, you've got to be somebody that can deal with that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? In a sense, you've got to be kind of cold, to be honest, to be in that kind of position. But I think perhaps him telling his friend shows that he's still got a soft heart in that sense. So he's not completely hardened to what he's doing, and there's still a way for him to perhaps turn his life around if he chose to. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Caleb should put himself in danger, and yeah, I think Caleb should separate himself from Tokunbo if he doesn't leave the gang. Yeah, I agree with that. He should definitely separate himself, because, you know, you don't want to have to be dealing with that, to be honest with you. Particularly if someone's going to do that kind of stuff, stay in the gang, do you know what I mean? And then want you to be their, like, you know, their shrink. Be their shrink after they commit a heinous crime. Then yeah, it's not going to work. Call it walk, as they say. But yes. I'm just going to go through the comments just to make sure that I've read everything. Yeah, I think I have. But yeah, moral of the story, guys, with these particular scenarios, knowing that friendships have seasons is so important, because again, you can be so blinded by the fact that you've known somebody for so long. You can be so blinded by that fact. Hey Ronke, I think it's Tokunbo's responsibility to own up to it rather than Caleb saying anything. Yeah, it is, but if it's a gang related thing, I doubt he's gonna do that, to be honest with you, unless he does it anonymously, like there's an anonymous tip off, as they say, unless he does it that way. But with these kind of things, I feel like people find out. There's a way people talk, and there's just a way, like, oh, so and so saw Tokunbo going to the police station, or do you know what I mean? There's a way that people find these things out. But absolutely, Tokunbo's responsibility, and that's what we were saying, like, he should not have put that on Caleb. I think it's unfair for him to have done that. But yeah, absolutely Tokunbo's responsibility to, you know, to own up, which he probably won't. But hopefully this is a turning point for him. So he will literally look at his life and be like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Mrs. Gibbons, of all people. She's practically like our grandma. Do you know what I mean? And I just, anyway, Sha, it is well. But yeah, it's lovely to see you lovely ladies on here. I hope you're all doing well. So yeah, just to summarize, we talked about 2 scenarios. I posted reels, 1 reel yesterday and 1 today. Scenario number 1 was Alicia and Kemi, and the whole thing about Alicia being a gossip, and whether Kemi should still be in a relationship with Alicia. And then Caleb and Tokunbo being part of a gang, you know, was involved in an armed robbery that, you know, affected somebody that both Caleb and Tokunbo knew for a very long time. And Caleb was informed of this, and it's kind of like, okay, what does he do? So yeah, those are the scenarios. And yeah, like I said, friendships have seasons, guys. Friendships have seasons, and I pray that we all have the discernment to know when it's time to distance ourselves in a relationship, or when it's time to, you know, I don't want to say cut off, to be honest with you, but when it's time to actually review things. Let's reassess. Let's reevaluate this relationship here, because it might not be a relationship that is helping me in any way or benefiting me in any way. It might be a relationship that is hindering me. If you're in a relationship with somebody that you have no trust with, essentially, someone that's a gossip, you know, you can't confide in that person, and there's naturally going to be distance in there if you withhold things. And also, you know, if you've been friends with someone for a long time and they've made choices that are not the best for them, you know, you're going to be connected to that in some way, shape or form, even if you're not making the same choices, by upholding or keeping that friendship. So I think the general lesson, is just with friendships, being very careful about who we affiliate with, not allowing history to blind us, to cloud our vision. So we see that person for who they are today, for who they are right now, you know. And yeah, make decisions about the company that we keep that is going to be of benefit to us. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of the right word. I don't know if of benefit is the right word, but yeah, friendships are going to help us grow. Friendships are going to help us thrive, friendships where we can be honest with each other, check each other if we need to. We're all trying to strive for better in our lives. We're not making choices that are detrimental to us, detrimental to our family members or friends. The Bible says bad company corrupts good character. Corrupts it, mate. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, it has been lovely talking through these scenarios with you lovely ladies and everybody else that's joined. It's 9:06. We've been on here for 36 minutes. And it's only supposed to be 20 minutes each session. But anyway, it's been great. I hope you have, learned something, I guess. I don't know. It made you think or something. I don't know. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, I'll see you on Friday as we discuss Wednesday, Thursday and Friday's scenario. Love this, Nyime. Oh, thanks, Ronke. Thanks for being on. It's so good to see you come and share your thoughts on the topics. But yeah, have a great evening, ladies. And I will see you on Friday. Keep listening to my single questions, stream it, share it, all the things that help an independent artist, mom of 3, get her music out there. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Gabby. Thanks, Ronke. Thanks everybody that's on the live. Take care. See you on Friday.